Ladies and gentlemen, when I was rejected from 30 jobs, I smiled. Failure is not the opposite of success, it is the path to it. God said, if you don't give up, you still have a chance. That became my law. Steve Jobs believed in connecting the dots. We must trust that the dots will align in the future. Success is not about IQ, it's about the I will. Dream big, start small, move fast. Your competitors may be stronger, but they will never outlast your persistence. Failure is the path to success. This idea sounds counterintuitive, especially in a world that celebrates victory, achievement, and results. From a young age, we are taught to win, to aim high, and to avoid making mistakes. But the truth is, no one ever succeeded without failing first. Failure is not just a stepping stone, it is the foundation of real growth. It humbles us, teaches us, and reshapes us. When we fail, we are forced to confront our weaknesses, reevaluate our strategies, and find strength we didn't know we had. Many people fear failure more than anything. They avoid risks, stay in their comfort zones, and settle for less than their potential. But those who achieve greatness are the ones who embrace failure. They understand that each failure is a lesson and each lesson is a step forward. When you fail, it doesn't mean you are not good enough. It means you are learning what doesn't work. And the more you learn what doesn't work, the closer you get to what does. Failure is often the first chapter in a success story. Think of every successful entrepreneur, every innovator, every leader you admire. They failed not once, but many times. What set them apart wasn't their intelligence or their resources. It was their mindset. They didn't see failure as a dead end. They saw it as feedback. Failure told them, try another way. It whispered, you're almost there. And so they tried again. Failure also builds resilience. When you fall and get back up, you become stronger. Each time you recover from a setback, your skin grows thicker, your heart grows bolder. You start to trust yourself more, not because you always win, but because you know you can survive losing. That confidence, that inner strength is what propels you forward when things get hard again, as they inevitably will. The fear of failure is often worse than failure itself. Fear paralyzes you. It keeps you stuck, questioning, doubting, waiting. But failure frees you. It clarifies. It removes the illusion of perfection and puts you in motion. Action creates progress, and progress creates momentum. Momentum is what builds careers, companies, legacies. None of that happens if you're afraid to begin. There's also a kind of honesty in failure. It strips away ego. It tells you the truth about where you are and what needs to change. Many people can fake their way through comfort, but they can't fake growth. Growth is uncomfortable. It requires struggle, and struggle often includes failure. But through that struggle, you evolve. You become someone more capable, more aware, more ready. Failure forces you to be creative. When the obvious solution doesn't work, you must think differently. You must stretch your imagination, challenge assumptions, and sometimes take a leap into the unknown. That's when innovation happens. That's when breakthroughs are born. Not in the safety of success, but in the chaos of trying, failing, adjusting, and trying again. When I failed early in my career, I didn't have money, I didn't have connections. I had rejection letters, doubts, and disappointments. But I also had determination. I told myself, if I can't do it today, maybe tomorrow. If not tomorrow, then next week. I refused to quit. Every failure gave me another chance to grow. And in time, those failures became the roots of my success. Failure also teaches humility. It reminds you that you don't know everything, that you need help, guidance, and time. Humility opens you to learning, and learning leads to mastery. People who never fail often stop learning. They start believing they've arrived. But the world changes fast. To keep up, you must keep learning. And to keep learning, you must keep taking risks. Even if it means failing sometimes, some of the most valuable lessons in life can't be taught in a classroom or read in a book. They have to be experienced. Failure is one of those lessons. It teaches patience, perseverance, empathy. When you've failed, you understand what others are going through. You become a better leader, a better teammate, a better human being. You stop judging others for falling short because you've been there and you know how hard it is to keep going. In business, failure is often your greatest teacher. It tells you what your customers don't like, what your team needs, where your systems are weak. It's raw data. The most successful companies in the world didn't start with perfect products. They launched, listened, failed, and iterated over and over again. That process, the loop of try, fail, learn, improve, is the engine of success. Some people want to avoid all failure by waiting until everything is perfect. They keep planning, researching, preparing, but perfection is a trap. It never comes. And while you wait, someone else is out there failing, learning, growing, and eventually succeeding. The real danger is not in failing, but in never starting. Starting messy, starting unsure, starting scared. That's how everything great begins. Failure also helps you clarify your vision. Sometimes you think you know what you want, but after failing, you realize you were chasing the wrong thing. Failure can redirect you to your true purpose. It can reveal your deeper motivations. When the easy path doesn't work, you're forced to ask yourself, why am I doing this? That question can lead to answers that change your life. Even in personal life, failure can strengthen relationships. When you're honest about your struggles, others open up too. Vulnerability builds trust. Shared failure creates connection. Whether in business partnerships, friendships, or families, the willingness to admit failure often leads to stronger bonds. It's also important to redefine what failure means. Society tends to label anything short of the goal as failure, but that's a narrow view. True failure is not trying. True failure is giving up. Everything else is just part of the journey. If you learn something, if you grow, if you take the next step, then it wasn't failure at all. It was progress in disguise. Failure brings out the best in you. When everything falls apart, you dig deep. You discover a drive, a courage, a creativity that was sleeping inside you. Adversity awakens greatness. But that greatness doesn't come without pressure, without testing, without breaking down a little first. Failure doesn't mean you are broken. It means you are breaking through fear, through doubt, through limitations that were never real to begin with. Every setback is an invitation to rise, to evolve, to become more. And the people who answer that invitation are the ones who change the world. Persistence creates opportunity. It is the invisible force behind every meaningful success. While talent can open doors and luck can provide a spark, it is persistence that keeps the flame alive when everything else fades. Persistence means showing up when others quit, pushing forward when results are invisible, and believing when the world says it's impossible. Many people begin with passion, but only those who persist finish the race. The journey to success is not a straight road. It is filled with detours, obstacles, delays, and disappointments. Most people start with excitement but stop when progress slows. They assume the lack of immediate results means failure. But success is not an event, it's a process. And persistence is the fuel that keeps that process moving. Persistence is not loud or dramatic. It doesn't always look heroic. Often, it is quiet. It is waking up early again after a long string of unproductive days. It is trying a new idea after the last 5 didn't work. It is hearing no again and again and still asking what's next. Those who persist don't wait for ideal conditions. They work with what they have, where they are, and they keep going. The truth is, no one can predict when the breakthrough will come. It may be the 100th try or the 1000th, but without persistence, you never get to that moment. You give up before the miracle has a chance to arrive. Opportunities are not always found. Many times they are created, shaped slowly through effort, failure, and revision. You rarely stumble into success. You carve a path to it with your actions, your endurance, your willingness to continue in the face of resistance. Persistence is the reason some people with fewer resources still win. They outlast those who had more but lacked the will to continue. In life, people often admire results but forget the process. They see the success but not the struggle. What they miss is that behind every finished product, there were late nights, tough decisions, repeated attempts, and quiet persistence. It's easy to be inspired by the outcome. What matters more is being committed during the process, especially when nothing seems to be working. Many people think persistence means doing the same thing over and over, but true persistence includes flexibility. It means continuing forward while adjusting your strategy. It's not stubbornness, it's commitment with adaptability. If one door closes, find another. If a plan fails, design a better one. The key is to keep moving, keep building, and never stop learning. Those who persist understand that mastery is not instant. It's earned. It's the product of repeated effort over time. Every great athlete, artist, or entrepreneur you admire didn't reach the top in a single leap. They climbed step by step, often with more setbacks than wins along the way. But they refused to stop. That's what made all the difference. Persistence also strengthens character. The more you persist, the more disciplined you become. You build habits, mental toughness, and emotional resilience. You learn how to manage disappointment without letting it control you. You become less dependent on praise and more focused on purpose. Over time, persistence becomes part of who you are. Not just something you do, but something you embody. It is a mindset, a decision, a way of approaching life. Instead of expecting ease, you expect challenges and prepare to face them. Opportunities are often disguised as problems. They appear when things go wrong, not right. But only those who persist long enough can recognize them, because persistence sharpens your vision. It helps you see value where others see difficulty. It allows you to dig deeper when others walk away. This is especially true in business. New markets, creative solutions, and partnerships rarely happen on day one. They emerge after testing, tweaking, and pushing through frustration. The persistent mind continues to ask, how can this work? Long after others have said this won't work. That determination opens doors, not always immediately, but eventually. One of the most powerful aspects of persistence is that it compounds over time. Small actions, repeated consistently, create massive results. 10 minutes of learning a new skill every day turns into hours of expertise within months. One call a day becomes a network. One article written, one video filmed, one message sent. They may feel small in the moment, but over time they create momentum. And momentum creates visibility, credibility, and opportunities you never imagined. There will be moments when persistence feels pointless, when nothing responds, when the world seems to reject every effort. In those moments, doubt is loud. But remember, silence does not mean failure. Often it means growth is happening underneath the surface. Seeds take time to sprout. Progress is not always visible, but that doesn't mean it's not happening. Keep watering the seed. Keep doing the work. Persistence is about trusting the process even when the results are not yet visible. Persistence also inspires others. When people see you continue despite challenges, it gives them courage. It shows them that effort matters, that quitting is not the only option. Your persistence becomes a quiet form of leadership. You may not even notice it, but someone is watching. They see your dedication. They feel your energy. They're encouraged to keep going in their own journey because you didn't stop yours. That ripple effect is powerful. Another truth about persistence is that it outlives failure. You may fail many times, but as long as you persist, those failures don't define you. They become lessons, steps, tools. If you stop, the failure becomes permanent. If you continue, it becomes part of your story, not the end of it. Persistence rewrites failure. It transforms rejection into redirection. It turns mistakes into knowledge, and that knowledge becomes your competitive edge. The world underestimates the persistent person. They may not be the most talented, the most connected, or the most confident, but they are still there, still trying, still improving, and eventually they break through. Because effort builds skill, repetition builds excellence, and consistency builds trust. People start to notice, opportunities start to find their way. Success begins to respond, not to the first attempt, but to the 100th one made with full heart and clear intention. Success rewards those who are willing to endure, to keep going when others sit down, to stay in motion when comfort says stop. Not every day will be productive. Not every action will lead to something big. But every act of persistence builds the muscle that leads to the next opportunity. And one of those opportunities will be the one that changes everything. The truth is, most people give up too early. They stop just before the turning point. They quit when the pressure increases, not realizing that pressure often comes just before the breakthrough. The persistent ones, though, stay the course. They don't need instant applause or easy paths. They are committed to the journey, not just the outcome. That commitment becomes their edge. It makes them unshakable. Because when you persist long enough, the world begins to notice. The right people begin to respond. The right moments begin to appear. not by chance, but because you created the space for them through relentless effort. Trust the future to connect the dots. When you are in the middle of your journey, it's hard to see the bigger picture. You face confusion, rejection, and challenges that don't make sense in the moment. You ask why things aren't going as planned, why certain opportunities fall through, why your path feels uncertain. But what you often can't see is that each experience, good or bad, is a dot. And those dots only make sense later when you look back and realize how they led you exactly where you needed to go. It is easy to get frustrated when plans don't work out. You prepare, you put in the effort, and still the door doesn't open. But sometimes the door you wanted wasn't the right one. Sometimes the failure you thought ruined everything was the very thing that pushed you toward your real purpose. Life rarely moves in a straight line. It moves in turns, in pauses, in redirections. And every time you keep going, you add another dot to your story, one that will matter in the future, even if you don't see it now. There are moments when you feel stuck, like you're falling behind, like others have figured out their path while you're still wandering. But that wandering, that searching is not wasted time. It is part of the process. It builds your resilience, your character, your creativity. It gives you depth. It helps you discover who you are beyond titles and achievements. One day, you will look back and realize that the slow days, the uncertain seasons, the difficult chapters, they were shaping you in ways success alone never could. When you trust the future to connect the dots, you stop obsessing over control. You stop needing everything to make sense right now. You learn to act with intention and let go of the outcome. You focus on the quality of your work, the clarity of your values, and the consistency of your efforts. You make the best decision you can with the information you have, and then you move forward. Because the truth is, you can't always predict what each step will lead to, but you can stay committed to moving forward anyway. Some of the most important opportunities in life don't come from planning. They come from showing up, being open, and saying yes to things that stretch you. That one meeting you didn't expect, that project you almost turned down, that setback that forced you to try something new. These are dots that only later reveal themselves as turning points. You may not recognize them at first, but they are shaping your path. When you look at successful people, you often see clarity and confidence. But what you don't see is the uncertainty they once lived through. You don't see the nights they doubted themselves, the failures they thought would end them, the jobs they didn't get, the rejections that stung. What they eventually learned is that every experience contributed to their journey, even the ones they wished had gone differently. Over time, they saw how every challenge had a purpose. That is what connecting the dots means. It is not about predicting the future. It is about believing that your actions today will make sense later, even if you don't know how. This mindset gives you freedom. When you don't need everything to be perfect now, you can take more risks, you can experiment, you can follow curiosity without fear. You don't have to have all the answers. You just need the courage to take the next step. The dots will connect when the time is right. They always do. And when they do, it feels like everything suddenly makes sense. The pieces fall into place, and you understand why things had to happen the way they did. Trusting the future also means trusting yourself. Trusting that you will adapt, that you will grow, that you will handle whatever comes. It's not about having a flawless plan. It's about having faith in your ability to navigate the unknown. That confidence doesn't come from guarantees. It comes from experience, from facing hard things and continuing anyway, from getting back up when you fall. From knowing that even if you can't see the full picture now, it's still being painted. There's power in doing what feels right, even if it doesn't make sense to others. Sometimes your vision is yours alone, and that's okay. Not everyone will understand your path. Not everyone will see the dot you're about to create. But if it's aligned with your values and driven by something meaningful, it matters. It will lead somewhere, even if you don't know where yet. Every risk, every failure, every quiet act of persistence, it adds up. You won't always feel certain. In fact, most of the journey will feel uncertain. But that's not a sign to stop. It's a sign that you're growing. If everything made sense right away, there would be no mystery, no discovery, no story to tell. It's in the not knowing that you build trust, not just in the outcome, but in the process. The process of showing up, of doing the work, of believing there's a bigger picture being drawn, even when you can't see it yet. Connecting the dots requires patience. It asks you to wait before judging whether something is good or bad. What feels like a failure now might turn into your greatest lesson. What feels like a delay might be a gift. What seems like a detour might be the most direct path to where you're supposed to be. Life is full of surprises, and many of them come disguised. Only time reveals what each moment truly meant. It's natural to want certainty, to want guarantees, to want proof that what you're doing will lead to success. But that's not how meaningful progress works. The most valuable achievements are not mapped out in advance. They emerge through effort, curiosity, failure, and resilience. They come to those who trust the process enough to keep going, even without immediate rewards. You will meet people who change your life unexpectedly. You will take steps that seem small, but open huge doors later. You will face situations that seem like setbacks, but actually prepare you for opportunities you didn't know were coming. These are the dots. One by one, they form the roadmap of your life. And while you can't connect them looking forward, you can live in a way that makes the connection possible. With courage, with persistence, and with faith that the story is still unfolding. The pressure to have everything figured out right now can be overwhelming. But the truth is, no one has it all figured out. The most successful people are still learning, still adjusting, still connecting their dots. What separates them is not certainty, it's the willingness to keep going despite uncertainty. To trust that today's efforts matter, even if the results are not visible yet. To believe that every decision, every mistake, every unexpected twist has a role to play. There is no perfect path. There is only your path. And your path is made one step at a time. Each step is a choice. Each choice is a dot. Some dots may feel like they lead nowhere. But if you keep creating them, if you stay in motion, if you continue to move forward with intention and heart, the pattern will reveal itself. And when it does, you'll see that everything was connected all along. Start small, dream big. Many people wait for the perfect time, the ideal resources, or the big breakthrough before they begin. But the truth is, all great journeys start with a small, often unnoticed step. Every empire began with a single action. Every global company was once just a name on a paper, an idea in someone's head, a single product in a small market. Starting small is not a weakness. It's a strategy. It allows you to learn, to adapt, and to build the kind of foundation that lasts. The pressure to make a huge impact right away can be paralyzing. People feel like they need to change the world overnight or prove their worth with a massive success story. But the world doesn't work that way. It rewards consistency, clarity, and courage over time. The early steps are not about grandeur. They're about learning the game. They're about figuring out who you are, what matters to you, and how to navigate the terrain in front of you. When you start small, you have the freedom to experiment, to fail, and to refine your craft without the weight of massive expectations. Dreaming big is just as important. It's the vision that pulls you forward, the reason you persist through the slow days and the hard seasons. A big dream gives your work purpose. It helps you make decisions not based on comfort, but based on alignment. When the dream is clear, the small steps feel meaningful. You understand that what you're doing now is part of something larger, something worth building, something that matters. The small beginning doesn't limit your ambition. In fact, it gives your ambition roots. It anchors your dream in real, tangible progress. Some people hesitate to dream big because they fear disappointment. They think it's safer to expect less, to play it small, to avoid the risk of failure. But dreaming big doesn't mean you have to get everything right. It means you allow yourself to imagine what's possible. You give yourself permission to aim higher than your current circumstances. When you dream big, you invite creativity. You see beyond today's limitations. You begin to think in terms of what could be, not just what is. Starting small also teaches you discipline. When the resources are limited, you learn to be efficient. When the team is small or even non-existent, you learn how to wear many hats. When the impact is minimal, you focus on getting better, not just getting bigger. These are the skills that prepare you for growth. They shape your mindset. They build your leadership. They make sure that when the big opportunities come, you're ready, not just in your abilities, but in your thinking. There's power in doing the work no one sees. The late nights, the quiet mornings, the tasks that feel invisible, they all count. They're part of the process. People often look at successful individuals and think their journey was fast, but in reality, the public success is always preceded by private discipline. The years of showing up, making mistakes, learning, improving, these are the invisible chapters that set the stage for visible success. You can't skip those chapters, you grow through them. Dreams give you direction, but the small steps create momentum. And momentum is where the magic happens. Once you get moving, even slowly, you begin to see progress. You start to believe in your own ability to change things. You realize that you don't need everything to be perfect. You just need to take the next step. Then another, and another. Over time, those small actions build confidence. They turn into habits. They compound. That's how greatness is built, not in leaps, but in layers. Dreaming big also forces you to become more than you are today. It stretches you. It pushes you to learn, to grow, to improve. It asks you to rise above excuses, to move beyond your comfort zone, to face your fears with courage. When your dream is big, you naturally start thinking differently. You stop settling. You start asking better questions. You look for solutions instead of problems. You find a way forward even when the path isn't clear. Some of the most impactful businesses, movements, and innovations started in a garage, a dorm room, or a tiny office. What made them succeed wasn't where they started. It was the clarity of their dream and the persistence of their daily actions. The world may overlook small beginnings, but they hold the seeds of transformation. Because when you start with humility, you build with intention. When you start with limitations, you innovate with creativity. When you start small, you stay close to the purpose. And that purpose keeps you grounded when growth arrives. People often confuse starting big with thinking big, but they are not the same. Thinking big is about the vision. Starting big is about the scale. You can have a massive dream and still begin with a small product, a single client, a short video, a simple service. What matters is the quality of your intention and the consistency of your execution. If the dream is real and the actions are consistent, growth will follow. Maybe not immediately, but inevitably. Start small doesn't mean stay small. It means you value progress over perfection. It means you take initiative instead of waiting for the perfect time. It means you don't need applause to validate your efforts. You build quietly, patiently, knowing that every great structure starts with a single brick. And as you build, your skills improve, your network expands, your impact increases. Before you know it, the small thing you started becomes something bigger than you imagined. Dreams evolve. What you envision today may expand as you grow. That's why it's important to stay flexible. Be willing to adjust the plan without abandoning the purpose. Be open to feedback without losing your direction. Be persistent without being rigid. The dream is the destination, but the route will change. That's part of the process. What stays constant is your commitment to moving forward, no matter how small the step. Comparison is one of the biggest killers of dreams. When you look at others who are further ahead, it's easy to feel discouraged. But remember, you are not behind. You are on your path, and your journey is unfolding exactly as it needs to. Comparing your chapter 1 to someone else's chapter 10 only steals your focus and energy. Instead of looking sideways, look inward. Ask yourself what step you can take today. Ask how you can grow, serve, and build right where you are. Your dream doesn't have to be loud to be powerful. It doesn't need instant results to be valid. It just needs your commitment, the willingness to show up, the patience to keep building, the humility to start wherever you are, and the boldness to believe that something small can become something extraordinary. The combination of starting small and dreaming big is unstoppable. It gives you the power to begin and the courage to continue.